Hey going guys, it's Khoa here again. In this video I want to cover a great book that has been recommended by many people, and it will really open your eyes on what constitutes a millionaire. The book is called The Millionaire Next Door, right? The Millionaire Next Door by Thomas J Stanley. So it's a great book. Check it out. And what this book covers, it gives you a lot of statistical evidence and facts that show you that millionaires actually don't live those type of lifestyles where we think that they're just flying around the world and with yachts and everything. No, they're actually just plain people that you see every day in the shopping centers. And what does the millionaire person look like? Well, he doesn't dress that nice. He doesn't wear nice clothes. He just wears casual clothes. Doesn't even drive a nice car. And the millionaires out there, they're very, very good with money, and that's the reason why they became rich, because they're so frugal and they manage their finances extremely well. So what would the millionaire look like? I am a 57-year-old male, married with 3 children. About 70% of us earn 80% or more of our household's income. About 1 in 5 of us is retired. About 2/3 of us who are working are self-employed. Interestingly, self-employed people make up at least 20% of workers in America, but account for 2/3 of millionaires. Also, 3 out of 4 of us who are self-employed consider ourselves entrepreneurs. Most of the others are self-employed professionals such as doctors and accountants. Many types of businesses we are in could be classified as normal. We are welding contractors, auctioneers, rice farmers, owners of mobile home parks, pest controllers, coin and stamp dealers, and paving contractors. About half of our wives do not work outside the home. The number 1 occupation for those wives who do work is a teacher. Interesting. Our household total annualized realized taxable income is $131,000 medium, or 50% percentile. Interesting. While our average income is $247,000. We have an average household net worth of $3.7 million. Of course, some of our cohorts have accumulated much more. Nearly 6% have a net worth of over $10 million. Our total to annualized realized income is less than 7% of our wealth. In other words, we live on less than 7% of our wealth. So what's Thomas J Stanley talking about here? He's saying that millionaires, they budget very well. There's quite a lot of description in this book, and to be honest, I don't have the energy to go through every single description. There's just so much facts, so much statistics in this book. And if you're the type of guy that loves statistics and data and analytics, all those type of things, you love this book, because it just backs up with so much proof and so much evidence that shows you what a millionaire looks like. So yeah, there's quite a lot going into this one. As you can see, he's showing like graphs there. There's some nice graphs some nice bar charts and detailed spreadsheets on the medium of the groups of American millionaires right there. So there's another table here that talks about, he analyzes the expenditure of millionaires, on suits and clothes. So let's have a look at it. Millionaires are frugal, right? They're extremely frugal. They save their money, and sometimes they could be called cheap, right? So they don't show off, and really they're just looking for ways to save money. And there's a really good example where they would not spend more than $2,000 on an engagement ring. And it is true, they just don't see the value in trying to spend more than $5,000 or $2,000 or whatever it is. An engagement ring is an engagement ring. Now I know if you're if you're a woman listening to it, well, he should buy me, that's a different story. But I'm just saying that millionaires, they're very cheap, they're very frugal, but then they're not like that just to piss everyone off. They're like that because they really, really, really value in providing for the family. You'll see that these millionaires, these cheap millionaires, they'll be sitting around like the dinner table, like that's their best form of relaxation. They love that, and that's all they care about is their family, and they want to make sure that they have enough money to provide for the family. That's the reason why they're rich. But the ones who, go out there and just spend a lot of money on these really fancy clothes and everything, they never have anything left over. So that was really interesting there. I want to share with you a story once. One time I remember it was about 10 years ago. I remember I was just riding my bike. I had a push bike and I like to go exercising and everything. So I was riding my bike around Perth, and then I came across this like super wealthy neighborhood. It was super rich. Like these houses, they were like mansions, and they had tennis courts and everything. And it was the most expensive in Perth. And I remember clearly. I was just riding my bike up this neighborhood, and I was looking at all the houses, thinking, wow, these houses are worth millions. And the guys in here, or the girls, the people living here, they figured it out. So, but then there was one common thing that I noticed throughout all those really rich houses. The one common thing, all these houses like might have looked a bit different. Some of them had tennis courts, but some didn't. They were slightly different, but there was one common thing that I noticed on every single one of those houses. And the thing was that on the driveway had a car that was not worth more than maybe about $7,000. That was it. There was no Porsches, there was no fancy cars, there was no Ferraris, there was nothing like that. In fact, they were actually all like Toyota Camrys. And I thought back to this book. That's the reason why they're living there, because they're so frugal and they know the value of money. They understand that money, they invest their money into things that appreciate. Because if you invest your money into like a nice car, well, as soon as you drive that car off the parking lot, off the car dealership lot, it's just going to depreciate. It depreciates like what, 10 or 20% straight away. So that's the reason why they're rich, because they keep putting their money, they keep saving their money, they keep putting their money in things that appreciate over time. And there is no value in trying to put all your money into like a really fancy car. Why? Because it depreciates. So that's the reason why all those houses has had like those old Toyota Camrys, because there's no reason for them to show off, because they already know they're rich. They don't need to show that stuff off. And yeah, that was a huge eye-opening for me. There was another one called Ode to His Frugal Wife. So millionaires, they actually marry, he talks about wives as well, they marry the ones that are very frugal as well. Like even like the wives that they marry, they're not like the flashy types, and if they try and take them out for like a nice dinner, the wives will actually stop them from doing that. They say, oh, it's too expensive, let's just stay indoors and save money and everything. So that's a really great thing. I love that. Well, in my experience, in my dating experience, I've dated all sorts of economically challenged women in the past. I've dated the rich ones, the super rich ones who, I remember the first time when I met her, we went out, and then as soon as I got home, she texted me. She goes, "Oh, look, how would you like to go and meet my parents? I'll buy you a flight ticket, and we'll go fly and meet them." I was like, that's really weird. Not only that's coming on a bit too strong, but she's willing to give me a flight ticket, right? So she was a bit of a spender. She spends a lot of money on clothes and everything. But I've also dated women who are very good with money, very cautious and everything, and I always find that they're very humble people. Not saying that if you spend a lot of money, you're not humble and stuff, but it does. What Thomas J Stanley is saying is that you do need to pick the right one. You do need to pick the right wife to find the right one who will complement, who has the same ambition to become a multi-millionaire. So there you go. So that's a huge chapter there. Frugal, frugal, frugal. So once again, there's more tables. There's this constant information there. You'll love it. I got a friend who's into analytics, data analytics, and he's always crunching numbers, and he would love this book. He would actually just annihilate it. It's just a personality. Some people have that personality of loving information. Loving lots of data. So for me, I'm a bit of a data person, but I'm more of a people person. I like to. I'm really good at seeing potential in people and conversing with people, and yeah, I can get a lot of things like that. So that's me. So there's a chapter called "You Aren't What You Drive." So going back to what I was explaining before in my previous story, is that millionaires, they don't drive fancy cars. They really don't. They just drive the basic cars that will get them from A to B. They won't drive like the crappy, really crappy cars. No, they'll just get just the basic ones, just enough. Like the average type of cars, it looks average, and it doesn't really look like big or anything like that. And yeah, they're those type of guys that will drive those cars, and they will save lots of money, and they'll invest it in other areas that will appreciate in value. Because as soon as you drive a car off a parking lot, obviously it reduces in value. So these guys, that's what they do. There's also another section here called Teach Your Children to Fish. So Thomas is talking about millionaires like to teach their kids on how to make money, which is really great, right? A lot of people, what they'll do is they'll work very hard, they'll make all this money, and they'll just give it all to the kids, but the kids will be cheated on because they didn't really work hard to really earn that money. They didn't really go through the hard sweat and tears and the blood and everything to acquire that fortune. So, and millionaires see this. They don't want to cheat the kids on that experience, because that's what taught them on how to become rich. So what millionaires do is they teach the kids on how to fish and how to become a millionaire. So that's a really good one. So I highly recommend this book, The Millionaire Next Door by Thomas J Stanley. Go check it out. It's an excellent book. It's pretty thick as well, and it gives you a good insight of what millionaires look like. And don't believe in those commercials out there that shows you that these millionaires are driving these fancy cars and everything. No, they're actually common people, average looking people. You actually won't recognize them. They don't really stand out until you go to their house and such. But it's a really huge eye opener, and it's something that you'll remember for a long period of time. And you can actually learn a lot from this book and actually apply it into your own life as well. So there's no pressure in trying to be flashy or anything like that. So go check it out, The Millionaire Next Door by Thomas J Stanley. Enjoy.